Hello tennis players, happy Monday. Alex Davidoff here for another at-home tennis workout. Today we're going to start off with some stroke exercises while seated. That's going to really focus on our upper bodies, how much we're turning our shoulders. Should give us a decent core warm-up and workout. And at the same time we can focus on some stroke technique. So, okay, I'm not as comfortable sitting cross-legged. Got some stiff knees, so I'm going to have my legs straight out in front of me. We're going to start by hitting some forehands. We're going to turn our shoulders just from the waist and upper body. Okay? As I take the racket back, racket head should be up above your hands with that wrist cocked back, palm away from you. Okay? Then when you drop it down behind you, it should drop almost down to ground level, but don't touch. And you're going to swing outward toward your target, following through over or around your shoulders. Turn, drop that racket, and swing straight ahead. Really paying attention to focus on your point of contact and to follow through forward before coming around the shoulders. What you don't want to do is just stick that arm out and be swinging just from the arm, which hopefully we all know is going to lead to lack of control and injuries later on. So, let's do a few of those. Okay. Feel free to do as many as you want. I'm going to switch over to the backhand side. Okay, very important on the backhand, especially for those of us who use two hands, is that we keep that right arm reaching across the body so it's moving toward the target at contact. You don't want to be pulling that right hand across your body. So shoulders turned. Again, my left palm is facing away now. Racket head is up, dropping it down, extending the swing forward and over the shoulder. Okay, let's alternate sides, coming back to the middle between each stroke. Forehand, ready. Backhand, ready. For you, those of you hitting one-handed backhands, let's do a few one-handers. Forehand and the one-handed backhand. Forehand, one-handed backhand with that left hand ending up back behind me. Okay. And even a slice backhand will work with this. Forehand and a slice backhand. Now, when I was a kid growing up, I used to play the Wimbledon finals in front of a mirror at my house. Practice hitting those the huge serves that I saw Goran Ivanisevic hit, or the running forehand passing shots that Pete Sampras was hitting. I got to do those in the comfort of my home, in the mirror, usually with no one watching. Okay? Great way to practice your strokes. So, I'm going to pretend that nobody's around. I'm going to work on some strokes and kind of talk through what I'm looking at, what you should be looking at when you're practicing your own strokes at home. Okay, we'll start with the forehand. Okay, when I'm hitting a good forehand, I want to make sure that footwork is involved. I've got a good center of balance. I'm in an athletic position. Very first thing I'm going to do is turn my shoulders and shift my weight to the right leg. Okay, if you're facing a mirror, it's going to look like this. Shoulder turn. All my weight on my right leg. Okay. Next, you're going to figure out some way to get your weight going forward, to promote that stroke going forward. Okay, that can be a step in. That's the easiest way to do it. Another way is, for those of us who hit a lot of open stance forehands, load on that back leg. Okay, and then as you swing, you're going to extend that back leg to hit. That's getting your weight going forward and thrusting it into your shot. That's what's going to give you your power, even if you're not making a step forward. Okay? So we can practice a few of these. A lower shot, I'm going to step forward in and hit. A higher shot, I might stay in an open stance and push off that back leg. Step in, open stance. Step in, split step, open stance. Step in forehand, and an open stance forehand. Okay. Same thing can be done on the backhand. Okay, we're seeing a lot more open stance backhands on tour today, and I think it's really good for shots where you're moving out to the side, where it's really difficult to maintain your balance and recover back to the middle if you're taking a step in. So any short backhand, whether it's a two-hander or a one-hander, we are going to take a step in, okay, and swing. But on a deeper backhand, we may just step out and turn our body, just like we did on the floor earlier, to swing. Okay, stepping in for that backhand, stepping out. Stepping in, and stepping out. This can also be done for the one-handed backhand. A one-handed topspin backhand is going to start with pulling that racket back and keeping the right arm or your dominant arm straight. Okay, when you step in, we're going to dip that front shoulder and dip the hands down before accelerating forward to contact and following through up over the shoulder. Very important that the left hand stays back behind you to balance you. Otherwise, you tend to pull across your body, ending up here, which is going to pull that ball off the court, or even worse, it's going to pull your racket away from the ball when you're trying to hit a ball out here. Yeah. So let's hit a few one-handed backhands. Step in, boom. You can step across a bit more. Very rarely are you going to see an open stance one-handed backhand. Although it is possible. You step out here, boom. Finally, a slice backhand. Very effective shot for mixing up with a topspin backhand. Also is good for approach shots or when you're on the run trying to scramble to hit a lower shot. So for that one-handed backhand, you're going to start with the continental grip. Okay. For those of you who are uncertain about the continental grip, take the V between your thumb and your forefinger, slide it straight down the shaft of your racket. That's the continental grip. You should be able to hammer in a nail with your frame if you're using that continental grip. Okay, from the side it's going to look like this. That full shoulder turn, pretty straight right arm or straight dominant arm. You're going to step in, duck down that shoulder, and notice now my racket's up pretty high, up above my head. Now, am I going to chop down to the ground? That'd be a waste of energy. I don't want my energy going straight down into the ground. Instead, I'm going to take a line straight toward the ball, almost directly forward, and follow through forward, making contact slightly up above my hand, following through forward with my left hand back behind me. Your left hand is your rudder in this case. If I want to hit straight ahead, I'm going to point my left hand straight behind me. If I'm going to hit it cross court, that hand's going to become visible to you a little bit. If I'm going inside out to the opposite corner, you should be able to see my left hand behind me. Okay, that keeps my shoulders in position to hit the ball where I want to hit it. Okay, now I'm bringing in a fancy tool. This is the Billie Jean King iCoach. Very effective tool for practicing your tennis strokes when you're unable to get out on the court with a partner or a ball machine. Or a tennis pro. Basically this is like a tee and tee ball. The ball remains on here and you're able to hit the ball and it always flings back to the same place. So it's really good for developing a rhythm and to working on your technique. It's really effective also in telling you when you've hit the ball incorrectly. If I have my racket face a little too open and I go to hit a topspin shot, you're going to hear it and I'm going to feel it in my racket. Okay? If I come over the ball a little too much, I'm really not going to get much force on the ball or make it swing back and forth. So a good stroke is always going to compress that ball, hitting only the ball with your strings, and it should go forward. Okay, I realize many of you won't have an iCoach at home, but the reason I brought it out is because it gives us a ball. It gives us a frame of reference for what we can work on, what we can envision when we're practicing our strokes in front of a mirror. Yeah. So, first thing to hit a forehand. We're always going to start facing our opponents, facing the oncoming ball. And when that ball starts coming toward us, turn the shoulders Your non-dominant arm is going to reach across your body. Your racket head is going to be up above your hand, the palm of your hand facing out away from you. Okay? That's important. That's that same wrist position you're going to use when you make contact. So we're going to start with that wrist position right from the start. Otherwise we end up getting kind of a whippier stroke that's much harder to control. So shoulder turn with that racket head up. Then we're going to approach the ball, whether it's with a step in with our left foot or your off foot, or you can also do this in an open stance. Okay? You're going to approach the ball, make sure you're in position to make good contact out in front of you. Okay? And then from there you're going to drop that racket head, accelerate the hand forward, mostly forward. You shouldn't have your hand way down below the point of contact. Your racket should be falling down way below your hand. Okay? It should be a nice, smooth, forward and upward swing. So I'm going to alternate open stance and closed stance now. I'm going to step in and hit an open stance. Step in, hit open stance. Step in, open stance. Now we're going to work on the same thing with our backhands. Whether it's a two-handed backhand or one-handed backhand, we'll start with topspin, finish with the one-handed slice. Okay. Just like on the forehand side, we're going to start facing our opponents. And a shoulder turn, where's that racket head? Up above the hands. Where's the palm of our left hand? Facing out away. You should have approximately a continental grip with your right hand and a forehand grip, eastern to western forehand grip with your left hand. Okay. Starting with the shoulder turn, step in. Drop the hands down slightly below the ball, not too far. Racket head down slightly below your hands. And swing forward and across your body. Okay. It's a two-handed backhand. One-handed backhand, very similar. Left hand or off hand is going to be on the throat of your racket. Take that racket back relatively high. I like to think of my left elbow, my non-dominant elbow, being up when I take that racket back. That way I'm sure my left hand is up, my racket head is up above my dominant hand. Then as I step in, dip that right shoulder down. Hand's going to come down below the ball slightly. Swing up. Through the ball, making nice square contact. Coming over, left hand ends up back behind you as your rudder, and you're going to follow through almost like a Statue of Liberty pose up above your head. Okay? Now, for that slice backhand. Okay, I don't care how good your two-handed topspin backhand is, I want you to develop a slice. It is really effective to be able to mix that shot up, to be able to hit a shot when you're on the dead run that's going to float over the net to make sure you're getting it in, might slow down the pace of play so that you can get back to the middle. It can also be really effective to keep a ball down low when you're coming into the net. Okay, so very similar to the take back on the topspin one-handed backhand. You're going to make sure you're in a continental grip. We talked about that before. Okay? You're going to swing forward to the ball. If you notice my hand movement, I'm not chopping down toward the ground nearly as much as I'm swinging straight ahead. It's almost like I'm throwing a frisbee out toward my partner over the net over there. So I'm going to start with the racket back here, move the hand forward. Racket head is going to be up above my hand for the entirety of the shot, until at least contact. Even at contact, my hand is slightly below the racket head, or the center of my racket head. And that gives me a nice strong position. If you lose that, if you start to drop your hand down here, you're much less strong. You're going to end up floating more balls and losing control of your shot. So keep a nice firm hand here. And notice, even though I'm swinging slightly downward on the ball, I'm contacting the ball and it's rebounding off my strings before I open my racket face. Now I am opening my racket face, but I cannot do that before I contact the ball. If I do, this is what happens. You hear that? Too many times of that, I'm gonna break my frame. Okay? So starting here, swing forward to the ball, let it rebound off your strings, and then you are gonna finish with that open racket face. Okay? That one wasn't as clean. I hit my frame on that one. I like that one. The racket should continue forward after you hit. Try not to finish down here. Okay? Always following through toward your target. Okay. Those are my tips for today. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I know we got into some more technical skills there. I think it's really valuable to practice those in your home, in front of the mirror, where no one's watching. If you come up with any questions, please be sure to tell me. I'll follow up next time. Thank you.